Good morning. Today we are going to look at the students' progress on designing slide presentation, which they're going to use as the materials for the 8 minutes presentation that was scheduled to be done in Monday, starting in Monday. But before we looking at the drafts, I would like to introduce to you the assessment sheets. Okay, let me open the let me open the assessment sheet. That you need to fill in during the 8-minute presentation whenever you are not presenting. Okay, so here is the, so I guess everybody is able to look at the screen, and in your screen is supposed to be showing an assessment sheet that you need to fill for the 8 minutes presentation, and the criteria or the assessment that you need to do is basically the ability of your peers, the ability of the students to deliver the presentation, not only in terms of the visual of its slides, but also evaluating the ability to deliver the important information, and also how he or she able to communicate, or at least he could speak the topic in a clear and concise manner, and whether the students are also able to follow the time limitations for the presentation is also part of the evaluation as well. So I will upload this assessment sheet later on in the EduNext. So if you are, so I'm planning to upload the assessment sheet here on week 10. Then so that you could download the assessment sheet that you must fill, and then after you fill in the whole presenters, you are asked to upload it into the following folder, because it is part of the evaluation. Okay, so of the students, and for the 8 minutes and the 15 minutes presentation that we're going to have in the scientific communications class, it will be not done by the lecturer, but it depends on the evaluation made by the students. Marketing. Okay, so in 8 minutes presentation and also in 15-minute presentation, the evaluation are done by the students who will act as the audience, and they will evaluate whether the presenter has the ability to deliver the topic in a clear and concise manner. Okay, for the evaluation itself, it has certain criteria. So if you look at your screen, I'm showing you the assessment criteria. So scientific communication class is basically given to students in the senior year of in the fourth year of physics students curriculum, and it covered the program learning outcome number 6, because in physics department we have 10 program learning outcome or PLO, which designed so that the physics students graduate have a certain ability or certain skills that they will get after their graduating. So for PLO 1 until 5, if I'm not mistaken, are related to the ability of students to knew about the physics theory and applications, and also able to apply the theory for a certain problem, and then they able to solve problems in a real situation, and also able to conduct experiments, etc., and so on. But for scientific communication, lies on outcome number 6, and well, it lies on outcome number 6, where evaluates the ability of students to write scientific articles, or at least they able to write report on the thing that they are working on their research or on their independent study, and also to able to deliver a presentation based on the research finding that they have. So here the performance criteria. Number 1 is able to deliver oral presentation in appropriate scientific style. And then the assessment probe will be to evaluate students' competency in oral presentation through final project seminar and scientific communication courses. And then the performance criteria number 2 is to able to write a scientific report in the lab form or lab report, a paper, and a final project report. And the probe is to evaluate students' competency in writing scientific report through final project, experimental physics, and independent study courses. And also in scientific communication course, one of the assignment or one of the major assignment that student need to fulfill is to write a short scientific topic article. The indicator, you will get an excellent grade if you're able to get a grade of 4. Good is grade of 3, average is grade of 2, and poor is grade 1. And then the assessment method for scientific communications class will be done by 3-minute presentation, 10-minute presentation, 15-minute presentation, poster presentation, and also an expanded abstract. And then the period of data collection start when the ASIN accreditation started. If I'm not mistaken, they renewed our accreditation in 2019. So this assessment sheet was created to fulfill the assessment that is needed for the accreditation. So also in this semester, we will use this approach, and so that the Department of Physics have the data in terms of the progress of the course delivery, and also to get some kind of a feedback related to the students' ability on this type of outcomes. And also here there is a specific description on the rank itself. So in terms of intended outcome 6, number 1, student have the ability or have the basic capability in oral communication and writing scientific report in appropriate scientific style, is basically correspond to the performance criteria number 1 and 2. Here in the first section is to able to deliver oral and poster presentation in appropriate scientific style. And the thing that we are going to evaluate is the criterion, or the thing that we are going to evaluate are organization and logical sequence. The second is the presentation technique. The third one is the visualization, and then the third one is the Q&A performance. So if you are going to rate your friend's presentation with rank 4, for example, then he or she is able to present slides which are systematic and well organized. So if you're going to rank, or if you're going to grade your friends with grade 4, it needs to be meet this criteria, which is the students able to present slides that are systematic and also well organized. And then in terms of the presentation technique, which relates to the ability to communicate, ability to master the English language, and also the ability to make a bridging between one section to another, it is basically evaluated in this aspect. Student or presenter seldom to return to their notes, spoke clearly using formal language, and allocate time for discussion. So this is the rating 4 criteria, if you're going to put this as for your friends. And then the third criteria that, or the third point that you need to evaluate is the visualization. So it means the layout and design of your friend's presentation slide, whether he or she able to use visual aids effectively. There are no space that is unnecessary, or there are no figure or graph that is not unnecessary. So you must make sure that the figure, chart, graph, and even illustration or animation that you put on your slide is basically used to help you to get the message told to the audience. So, so the purpose is basically to inform, to describe, or even to persuade the audience about the topic that you choose. It's basically to give more knowledge, more information to the viewers or to the audience, so that they understand the thing that you are presenting basically. So you must make sure that the figure, chart, and table, or a graph that you use is necessary in terms of helping you to get the information delivered to the audience itself. And then the last one is for Q&A performance, question and answer performance. If the students are able to listen carefully and then respond the question appropriately based on the questions, then you could grade the students with a mark or with the grade of 4. Okay, and then the rest is basically following the grade from the best grade to the worst grade, whereas the rating number 1 is the worst rating that you could give to your peers. And in my experience in teaching scientific communication, I never see a students who have this rating. Because if you got this rating, it means that your preparation, it means that your understanding about the topic is very, very poor. Here, but if I must mention clearly about the description of what rating 1 are, is that in terms of organization and logical sequences, rating 1 correspond to the student presentation slide are not systematic and poorly organized. That's one. And then in terms of presentation technique, rating 1 means that students always return to their notes, so they keep looking at their notes, and I could see this, we could see this actually as an audience from the eye contact. So that's why one of the activities that you need to do during 3 minutes, 8 minutes, and 15-minute presentation is to turn on your camera so that we could see where is your what is your gesture, and also where are your eyes is focusing to, because sometimes it could lead to the indication of whether students is reading material. And then also whenever we see sentences, too long sentences in the slide, for example, it is also part when you keep looking at the notes or keep looking at the passage that you are planning to deliver. So keep in mind that mastering the subject and also mastering the content of your presentation is important whenever you're going to present the topic. Okay, so let us continue with the rating number 1 for visualization. So if you got rating 1 for visualization, it means that you are using unclear and incomprehensible multiple slides. So in terms of the figure and charts and graph that you use, or even the design itself, it is distracting. It is making the audience not focusing with the slide, with the presentation, and it basically distract their attention. And then for rating 1 in Q&A performance, it means that students did not listen carefully to the question or were unable to answer the question that being asked. And for criteria number 4 related to the Q&A performance, there are techniques that you can use whenever the question is out of topic, whenever the question is not related to your topic, and you don't want to make some kind of a misguided explanation, right? So there are techniques to avoid that type of question, but you never say that I don't know. You never say that I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer of your question directly. Okay. Even though honesty is the best policy in terms of presenting a scientific topic, but if you answer the question too direct, it kind of makes the impression that you are not the master of your own presentation. So instead of just saying out loud that you are not knowing the answer for that, you just can say For example, well, in my case, in the topic that I present to you is more on this aspect that your questions is related to the aspect that is not covered in here, and in this presentation itself, the topic is not involved or is not part of the explanation. So I'm sorry that I cannot answer your question in this moment, but if you gave me some more information, probably next time I could give you more information about the thing that you asked. So there are ways to not to mislead, but exactly, but to tone down the answer so that it will not give a direct impression that you are not mastering the presentation topic itself. Okay, and then if you are unsure with the answer itself, you could say that in terms of your question, I'm not sure whether my explanation is correct or so, but in my opinion or in my current calculation or in my current understanding, the thing that you ask is this, whereas my presentation is more related to this. So probably there is a connection or probably not. That's the way. That is one of the way or one of the approach that you can use. If you found that the question that is asked by the audience is not going to be solved or not going to be answered by yourself due to the fact that you're not talking about that matter, or you don't know about the connection between the question and the answer based on your knowledge. So make sure that you are listen carefully with the question, and if you understand the question and you don't have the answer, there are ways on how you tackle that problem itself. Okay. Instead of just saying, "Oh, I don't know, it's not related to my it is not related to my study." Okay, you don't do that. Okay. Okay, and then the well, this is the thing that also part of our lecture is the student's ability to write scientific report in form of expanded abstract. For this one, I'm going to skip the explanation because it's more on the scientific article assignment that you're going to submit in the last week of the semester. However, for filling this assessment sheet, okay, in terms of filling this assessment sheet, please refer to the criterion that is written here in the page 1, in the first page, especially for 8 minutes presentation and 15 minutes presentation. Well, in 8 minutes presentation, you don't need to mark or you don't need to grade the Q&A performance. You can look at the organization. So if I'm this one here and this one here. So here in the assessment sheet, you're going to evaluate students' organization and logical sequence, and which basically relates to the ability of students to have a systematic and well-organized slides. And then presentation technique is evaluating students' ability to master the presentation, master the content, master the knowledge that they're presenting. And then it's okay. So we differentiate between, okay, so presentation technique is more on the ability of students to speak clearly using formal language and allocate time for this. So Here in presentation technique is basically the ability to students to sell them, to return to their notes, have good eye contact with the audience. The spoken word that the presenters has is also clear, and he or she is not using some informal language like a slang or an inappropriate language, basically. And then content mastering is basically the ability to get the feel that the presenter is able to deliver the presentation clearly. He knew about the topic. He knew about the small things that is related to the topic, etc. And so on. And then in terms of visualizations is related to the visual aids that he or she use. And then the constraint followed is basically the ability of students to able to keep their presentation on time. Okay, since we have 8-minute presentation, it means that the students is able to deliver presentation under 8 minutes or close to 8 minutes, but not more obviously than 8 minutes. Okay. Okay, we have, okay, do we have questions from the audience, from the students here before we move on to the workshop? Okay, I will, yes.
Sorry, sir.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, for the content mastering and constraint followed, what are we evaluating the presenter? Is it just our subjective side of content mastering and constraint followed, or
yes,
there is?
Yeah, you can use you can do an objective point of view where the presenter you think is able to deliver the presentation clearly, and it is also true that the content mastering in 8-minute presentation and 15-minute presentation will be different, because in 15-minute presentation you will also have that you will have also the impression when you see the Q&A sessions, so that on that part also could make a differentiation between content mastering in 8-minute presentation and 15-minute presentation. But for the next presentation, which is the 8-minute presentation, the content mastering could be based on the objective evaluation that you see from your peers. So if you knew that your friends has been hard working on their topic, or hard working on their subject, or hard work, or have the experience in working, you knew that he is working on the same subject for his final project, for example. If you knew about it, then you could make an objective or a subjective evaluation in terms of the mastering. So in this case, it's based on your experience. It's based on your experience in terms of dealing with the presenter itself. So if you're not if you're not that close with the presenter itself, it means that the content mastering is going to be objective or subjective based on the presentation session itself. Okay, so but however, if you knew that outside the presentation session, you knew that he or she is basically new about the subject, then you could also add the grades based on that experience as well. So so to make the long story short, if you want to give an objective evaluation in terms of the mastering, you can do that. If you think that you don't have any subjective, if you don't have an objective evaluation, you just want to evaluate it subjectively based on the thing that you saw, based on the thing that you hear during presentation, then it is also okay. Because myself as a teacher, if you going to evaluate the content mastering objectively, I will see at the how the general impressions based on the delivery, based on the slide presentation, whether there are no grammar mistakes, whether there are no typographical mistakes, and small things that if there are no small things that kind of distract you, it means that the presentation is okay, and then the presenter itself spoke the topic clearly, and me, for example, since I am coming out from the Earth Physics research division, when I hear the topic from other research division, but I can follow what they're saying easily, it means that the content mastering and also the presentation technique that he used is on a top grade, is on the best grade for this class, because I'm not hearing too many difficult words. I could follow his or her presentation clearly, and then I took the message that why does this study is important, how the question being raised is answered by this research, etc. and so on. So the answer for your question, you could do your subjective evaluation or objective evaluation. The differentiation, okay, if you are asking about the differentiation on what presentation technique more to do with the content mastering, is that for the presentation technique, if you see that the presenter have the ability to bridge between one section to another, and then if his intonation is clear, if his voice is not too soft and not too loud, then it is basically falls under the presentation technique points. For content mastering, if he or she could explain what the terminology used, or could explain what are the process in his research or in his presentation, well, it means that it falls into the content mastering criteria.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Also,
more questions from the audience?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I want to ask you a question about the 15-minute presentation. How many students that will asking a question in each student?
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the time. If you're able to deliver your presentation in 10 minutes, the number of people who could ask is going to be more than if you deliver your presentation in 12 minutes, for example, because we have that 15 minutes presentation limitation. So in a normal mode, okay, in the normal mode that I have, or that we could agree with the class, is that the normal mode for the 15-minute presentation is that you're going to deliver your topic in, let's say, in 12 minutes. and then we're going to have 3 people who are going to ask you questions in 1 minute each, and then you answer in that time corridor. And so the normal the common, or not normal, but the common or the regular number of people who could ask you questions is 3 people. Okay, but it could be also less from that if you exceed 12 minutes, because our total time for your session is 15 minutes, and if you deliver your presentation, let's say it's 13 minutes or 14 minutes, then you only have 1 or 2 questions from the audience. And so the normal settings or the regular settings for the 15-minute presentation is that you're going to deliver a presentation in 12 minutes, and then answering questions from the audience for 3 minutes with the regular number of people who ask the question is about 3. Okay, so that is the normal settings. However, if the question is short, it's a yes/no answer, for example, then the number of people could be more than 3. If the and even if and also if we have time to spare, for example, if you are presenting in the last part of the session where we usually have some spare time, the number of people who could ask, it could be more than 3 as well. However, in my in the setting of this class, the regular setting is that you're going to talk about your topic for 12 minutes and then answering the question in 3. If you have less time for your presentation, for example 10 minutes, then we have time for a discussion or Q&A session for 5 minutes, so that more people could ask questions on that 5 minutes. However, if the explanation needs to be longer, then the number of people who could ask for your presentation is probably only 3. So it depends on the question and answer. So it depends on the question itself. If the question needs more detailed information, it means that we could take more time, and the 3 people requirement or the 3 people asking your question could be less than 3. So it could be only 1 question if the answer is quite long. It could be 3 people, or it could be 4 people if the answer is a short one, like a yes or no question. However, for the normal mode or for the regular mode for the presentation is 12-minute oral presentation and 3 minutes answering questions. I hope that's answering you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, do we have more questions? Okay, I see that Jihad Fahri is in the classroom, and he's planning to deliver his 3-minute presentation, if I'm not mistaken, right? So let me turn on the multiple. Okay. Yes, may I still doing the 3-minute presentation? Yeah, okay, so do we have Jihad in the classroom now? Jihad Fahri? Yeah, I can see your name on the students list, but are you prepared for your presentation today? Excuse me? I'm sorry, but I could not hear your voice. Could you speak up louder?
Yes, sir. Inshallah, I'm ready.
Oh, inshallah, you are ready. Okay. Okay, for that, okay, so let me ask the audience first whether there is no question related to the evaluation. So do we have more questions related to the 8 minutes presentation evaluation? Or do you still have questions regarding the oral presentation session that we're going to have in the remaining of the semester? Okay, let me remind everybody that the scheduled task of the scheduled activities that we're going to have for the rest of the semester is that today we're going to have presenter workshop, and then next week we're going to start the 8 minutes presentation where student is going to deliver their introduction, basic theory, and also the methodology of the chosen topic. And then it will last until the end of March. Before, in the first week of April, we're going to talk about, or to discuss about, or to learn about the methods on poster presentation. And then the last 3 weeks of April, we're going to have 3 minutes, we're going to have 15 minutes presentation that will start in the second week of April until the last week before the Eid al-Fitr holiday. Okay, because the Eid al-Fitr holiday will be, because based on the academic calendar that is given by ITB, the last day of lecture is April the 29th on Friday. So it means that we're going to use the whole week of April, for our class. Okay, so these are our scheduled activities for the rest of the semester, and keep on track on the schedule so that you could not lose the. So if there are changes in the schedule, or there are modification later on, at least we knew about the activities at the moment, so that if there are changes, that we could just modify it later on. Okay, if there are no questions, I will ask. Okay, so first of all, I just want to ask whether we have. Okay, we have Jihad Fahri in the classroom today. Do we have Hasan Mustafa? Do we have Hasan Mustafa in the classroom? Do we have Gelar Subakti? Or do we have Ella Fatasya? Oh, sorry. Well, I'm sorry, it's not Ella, but Chiska. Do we have Chiska in the classroom? Okay, we only have Jihad in the classroom for now. So okay, so let me close this slide so that so that Jihad could prepare his presentation. Okay, let me stop sharing this screen for now. Okay, and Jihad, are you able to share your screen? Okay, let me. Okay, let me also open the timer. Okay, we can see your slide. You can see your slide. So if you're ready for your presentation, you may start. I think we lost Jihad. Probably he has some kind of a network difficulties. Okay, let us wait for Jihad's turn to prepare his presentation.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Okay. Good morning.
Introduce me, Fahri. I will present introduction about test cleaning on solar panels using electricity principle and coating the solar panel with transparent and conductive layer from aluminum doped zinc oxide. Uh, uh, yeah, a solar farm is a large collective of photovoltaic. A solar farm is a large collective of photovoltaic solar panels that absorb energy from the sun, convert convert it into electricity, and send that electricity to the power grid for distribution and consumption by customers like us. Uh, they operate as power plants, just like natural gas, uh, just like a natural gas power plant or other source of energy generation that have generated electricity for consumer for the last century. Uh, they decentralize and usually consist of ground-mounted solar panels installed installed across a larger area. This figure example solar farm in Mosul County. Yeah, this is we have graphic effect of this accumulation of solar panel power output. So solar panel reduce power output exponentially with increasing dust coverage due to increased blocking of incident light or of incident sunlight. What should we do? So we have to regularly cleaning. So regular cleaning is essential for such installation. But cleaning solar panels currently is estimated to use about 10 billion gallons of water per year, enough to supply drinking water for up to million people. For up to 2 million people. So next, what should we do? Cleaning effort is waterless, requires a lot of effort and tends to cause irreversible scratch, which also reduce efficiency. Figure 4, sample automatic solar panel cleaner without using water, but that still have a problem. So this our temporary solution. So we truly need a non-contact way of removing dust from solar panels that consumes no water to make it sustainable. Electrostatic repulsion of dust from solar panels has immense potential to completely eliminate the scratching damage due to contact scrubbing, and also eliminates the use of water to clean panels. Then a transparent conductive surface coated with aluminum doped zinc oxide on the top of a solar panel that charge and repel the accumulated dust particle on application of voltage. To activate the system, simple electrode passes just above the solar panel's surface, imparting an electrical charge to the dust particle, which are then repelled by a charge applied to the panel itself. Then the system can be operated automatically using a simple electricity motor and wide rails along side of the panel. This is figure 5 example for schematic of the dust removal mechanism with AZO coated glass installed on the top solar panel. Maybe that's all from me, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for the presentation itself is well exceeding 3 minutes. You consume more than 5 minutes for this. Well, I'm starting the timer after you greet us with it is not include the time when technical difficulties happens. So for the 8 minutes presentation, I'm just going to suggest that you need to prepare more so that you will not exceed the time limitation. So time limitation is important because even for your defense later on, your advisor will give you only 15 minutes or 20 minutes to present. So you're not going to put everything on your slide, or you speak in, or your delivery is not well organized. Okay, so make sure that you're able to meet the time limitation later on in the 8 minutes presentation. But for now, in terms of the clarity of the topic, I can see where does the study is going to move is basically on how you makes the dust cover eliminated or mitigated, so that your solar panel will work efficiently, or work based on the specific that it's meet their potential. Basically, it can produce the amount of electricity in maximum in a maximum number, and then in order to maintain that, you must reduce the amount of dust that's going to potentially covering your solar panel. And one of the approach is that instead of just cleaning it with gallons of water, we could basically make a layer, a hydrophobic layer, that well, I'm not sure whether it's a hydrophobic or hydrophilic layer, but the purpose is that if you put the layer on top of the solar panel, it will make the dust is not going to be attached to the solar panel, and or it could be easily removed if you have another agent or another mechanism that is covering the solar panel itself. So you basically put some kind of a layer on top of the solar panel so that the cleaning of the dust could be done without using too much water that the normal practice do at the moment. Okay, thank you, Fahri. Okay, so make sure that you are able to meet the time limitation criteria next time on the 8-minute presentation. Whereas for today, in terms of the mastering, organization, etc., it's pretty well. However, the time limitation needs to be worked more because it's exceeding the time limit. Okay, thank you. So with that, we could move on. So do we have students who haven't done their 3 minutes presentation?
Yes, sir. I'm having this presentation.
Oh, who is this?
Roughly.
Oh, roughly. Oh, wait a second. Oh yeah, Muhammad Rafli Indra Kusuma.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me set up my, okay. Okay, could you share your screen now?
Okay, my screen can.
Yes, you can see your screen. Okay, whenever you're ready, Rafli.
Okay, I'm ready, sir. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to presentation about magnetic levitation train powered by superconductor material. I'm Muhammad Rafli Indra Kusuma from the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Institute Teknologi Bandung. Okay, before we start, we should know what is superconductor itself. Superconductor is a superconductor state that have a special properties. They can reach superconductor state near absolute zero, absolute zero temperature, 0 Kelvin. In this state, the material can conduct electricity with zero resistance, so they can flow electrical current without loss power, and the magnetic flux in the materials expelled. The example of superconductor is mercury at 4.2 Kelvin. It was discovered by the Dutch physicist in 1911. So this is the picture of the superconductor that can levitating magnet in near zero temperature. Okay, and this is the graphic of the regular metal, regular conductor, and the superconductor. We can see that the normal metal will never reach zero resistivity, even they reach under critical temperature. But the superconductor can reach zero electrical resistivity if they reach under electrical temperature. And the right picture is the Meissner effect, when the superconductor expelled the magnetic field. So the magnetic field can reach over the material. Okay, this is the example from a magnet levitating over the superconductor material. The superconductor can lower the temperature by liquid nitrogen. So with liquid nitrogen, they can very cold. And this is the application of superconductor. First one is lossless electrical power, but for now it was very expensive for today, but maybe the future can more efficient. The second one is a magnetic or bullet train that I presentation today. And maybe the anti-earthquake building. The anti-earthquake building can use the superconductor too. With superconductor, they can make a building so the building can levitate over the superconductor. But for now, it's still impossible, I think. And magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, in medical and other application, of course. And this is the magnetic levitation train. For today, I think a train that close to this was Shinkansen in Japan. It a bullet train have a speed up to 300 km per hour, but they still not use superconductor, but a regular magnetic field, I think. And if we use the superconductor, so we can make more efficient train with less power, of course. The advantage is less power, noise free, because no distraction, no no distraction with the rail, and cost reduction. But the disadvantage is expense more in coolant or liquid, so we can see that superconductor need very much liquid nitrogen or other coolant for its cooling liquid. And of course, I think it was not efficient in tropical country, because in tropical country we have sunlight every year in and hot temperature, and it was not good in liquid nitrogen expense. Okay, I think it was my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rafli. Same with Jihad Fahri, you are exceeding, sorry, it's not with Jihad, but with, oh yeah, the same with Jihad Fahri, your presentation is exceeding 3 minutes. In my timer, you are spending 6 minutes. More or less it's the same with Jihad's presentation. So keep in mind that in 8-minute presentation, you need to keep up with the time limitation so that you knew what are the materials for the presentation, so that you will not exceed the time limitation, because it is part of the criterion that we're going to evaluate whether you're able to meet that time limitation. Okay, but thank you for your presentation. Your grade is going to be added with the rest of the assignment. Okay,
Yes,
thank you. Okay, so do we, okay, so again, do we have Hasan Mustafa in the classroom? Or do we have Jiska Rahmatun? Do we have Jiska Rahmatun in the classroom? Or do we have Gelar Subakti in the classroom? Okay, if we, okay, so based on the attendance list, the official attendance list that we have, that the student number enrolled in this class is 31. If we have 3 inactive students, it means that we have 28 active students enrolled in this class. So it means that we could have less time, I guess, to allocate for the 15 minutes presentation later on. But for 8 minutes presentation, I think the time limitation or the time allocation for that is going to be in 2 weeks, Monday session and Thursday session. So it will be enough for us to have even 31 students presenting on that 2 weeks for 8 minutes. Okay, but for the 15 minutes presentation, I think we're going to have less time for that, so that maybe we could start the 15 minutes presentation probably a little bit later than the scheduled activities that we already saw earlier. Okay. Okay, thank you for Jihad and also for Lafrit for showing their 3 minutes presentation. Now I would like to see the progress of your slide presentation. We have a volunteer. Do we have a volunteer to show their slide progress? Or should I ask the students? Okay, let me see the participants list. I'm going to select randomly. I hope that you're able to show the, well, at least you have something that you could show in this session, whether it is finished or not. At least you have that at least you have that slides that you are working on at the moment. Okay, I'm going to ask Miranda Sitompul. Do we have Miranda?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could you show us your current draft for the moment?
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do we have problem in the connection or? Okay, I think there is a problem with Miranda's connection, but her screen is on in my computer. Okay, so okay, could we move on to Adrio? Do we have Adrio? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Could you show us the current draft? It doesn't need to be finished already yet, but we just want to see the current state of your slide presentation.
Yeah, on my slide.
Okay. So how many slides that you have at the moment?
9.
9. Okay. Yes, that's more appropriate. And then you only have one graph to show. You only have one figure or picture to show in this presentation,
Yeah.
or
Until the method it's just one figure that I will show in my presentation.
no? Okay, but are you going to add more figures later on?
For the result and discussion, maybe there will be additional figure
Okay,
that I will show.
But until the methods, more or less is more descriptive, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, could I see slide number 6, for example? Okay, photovoltaic. PV convert solar energy to electricity. So instead of, well, I know that this is it is already a short phrase. However, since we already knew that photovoltaic is a PV, we could just use PV cells. Okay, PV cells and then arrow. Okay, arrow and then solar energy, arrow, electricity. Something like that. So instead of
something like this, sir.
Yeah. So instead of using words, you could show the process of using a diagram like this one, or showing like a flow chart, something like that. Okay. In terms of just using the description by words. That's one of the, well, I will give you the freedom to design it. Okay, if you're planning to keep the explanation with words, it's okay, but I'm just suggesting that instead of using words, you could also use a diagram to explain about the process.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Adrio.
Okay, sir.
Okay, let us move on to Felix Cahyadi. Do we have Felix?
Yes.
Okay, are you able to show us your slide presentation draft?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
So
Single photon state control. Yes, well, we can see your draft. We can see your slide. How many slides you working on at the moment?
I can't say it for sure yet because it is not the final version. But I would expect. So I haven't really made the all of the slides yet. But I'm going to show you the outline of this presentation. And
okay.
I'm gonna expect about one slide from the motivation, and then probably 1 or 2 slides from the quantum communication, and also probably 1 or 2 slides for each subsection. So I would expect about probably 13 or 15 slides
for 8 minutes.
For 8 minutes.
Do you think is good to have for 8 minutes? 15 slides. Is there any topic that you are planning to describe it quickly, or?
I think I'm going to go through the introduction quickly, and then maybe focus more on the theory and the methods. But
okay.
I'll look into it if the material is still a little bit much. I guess I'll remove some of the materials.
Okay. Well, I like the design of your first 4 slides of using a orange background with a white box in the middle. But I see starting at slide number 5 until the end, I guess you start using a traditional background, white and a dark color letter. This one is more conservative, I guess. The white background slides. Or you're just going to mix it later on, or what is your plan with the design?
I think I'm going to mix them later on. So it's going to look like this probably.
Okay.
So yeah. So the outline and then
but be careful with the be careful with the choice of orange color, because sometimes the tones of orange color is kind of bright. It's just like a bright yellowish color. It gives some kind of a similar impression to the viewer. So be careful with choosing with the orange background, so that it will not make our eyes distracted. Okay, so so in my opinion is that you could still use this background. However, be careful when you are arranging the words and also the titles. It needs to be toned down the orange color itself, because it's already bright. The color orange is already bright. So be careful when you're going to, so for example, in the title, so could you look for the slide number 1, for example?
Yeah.
Slide number 1. Okay, so well, in my opinion, instead of a white color fonts, maybe you could tone down the brightness of the orange with, I don't know, a dark gray or a black one, so that it will not make the slides becomes more brighter than it already does. Okay, because orange itself is already bright. So if you use a white color, it makes brighter. So if you change into a dark gray or a black one, probably not the background, but the font color, color.
I see.
Yeah, because myself is kind of interested with the usage of orange color background, but how you manage to mix it with, yeah, for example, like this one. So it makes the tone, it makes the brightness of the orange backgrounds becomes a little bit toned down with the black or with the dark color fonts. Yeah, for example, like this one. In my opinion, it's better. Okay, because it's not make our eyes distracted with the brightness.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like that one. Or you could choose another color, for example, dark green. Okay, dark or dark brown, for example. That's also a choice that you could that also the colors that you could choose later on. Okay, so at least we have a contrast of dark and bright here, and it makes the tone of the background decreases since we have a dark color fonts here. Okay, don't forget to add your, okay, you already have the registration number, your name itself, the title. If you want to add the affiliation logo, also, you could also do that so that the accent or the visuals of your first presentation is going to be attracting the audience attention. Okay, but however, good job. Thank you, Felix.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll make sure it's gotta be readable. And
okay. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the size, the font size itself is already big. So if you, but it's kind of matched with the orientation of the book or of the box that you put on the middle itself. So is it bold or is it normal or is it in bold? Ah, I see.
This one, yeah, it's
okay. So if you make it normal, for example, what will happen?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that doesn't give a good contrast. So I think it is better to have it both, but make it smaller, probably make it smaller, like 38. Okay, so 36. Oh yeah, something like this. Yeah, this is better. Okay, so that next time you could play with the another dark color, for example, dark green or dark blue or something. Not dark blue. I think black or dark gray or dark green will be better, but not dark blue. Okay, thank you, Felix.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Could we, so for the next slides, could we have Melissa? Do we have Melissa Damayanti?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you show your current draft of your presentation, please?
Yeah, so here is my
okay.
slide.
Okay, I like this one. I like this outline. It is not that conservative, but the choice of color itself is giving us the good contrast between bright background and the fonts. Okay, so moving on. Introduction and then the theory. Do we have equations? Do we have equations in the presentation or not?
I will edit the equation, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, at the moment I don't even.
Okay. Well, my
edit.
suggestion is that, for example, this theory, if you're able to decrease the amount of sentences there, decrease the amount of
Oh.
words, not using sentences, but just a short phrases or a keywords, that will be improving, I guess, in terms of the visual or the slide design, because in this class, it is taught that using less word or using less sentences is going to make the presentation visual better. Okay, could you move on to the next slide, please? Okay, so for this one, could you make it full screen, please?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For this one, okay. The number, the letters, I guess, is too small. Well, I'm not talking about the forward problem, inverse problem, and the green box and the blue box on the right. But in the middle, we have standard EEG, online monopolar, and then reconstructed reference rest. Is it okay for you to make them a little bit larger, especially the orange one? Yeah, especially the online monopolar reference one is becomes. I don't know.
Actually, I just take maybe I screenshot from the papers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, could you increase the size?
Wait.
Okay. If you're able to increase the size, then okay. So
yeah.
That's better.
Or maybe I could make it by myself later.
If it's taking you too much time, then don't need. I think you don't need to redraw the figure if you have less time to do that. I mean, for this, because we are not having your defense right now. So as long as you're able to describe the flow or describe the content of these charts, then it will be okay.
So I
it will
don't
be
need
okay.
to
You just need to
chart.
increase, just to increase the size so that the word is not small. Yeah, it's not small.
Okay.
It can be readable by the audience. Okay. Okay. Yeah, references. You don't need to have that references.
I will delete.
But thank you is okay. Thank you is okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for showing us your slides. I like the choices of color that we have here, because the tone itself is not that. The tone itself is kind of match with the eyes. Okay, and then the choice of background is not that too conservative as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the advice, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, we already at 20 to 11. We could have one more presenter that needs to be looked at for their presentation draft. Do we have? Okay. Okay, do we have Nazlia? Oh. Okay, so many students already left the class. So okay, do we have, okay, in my list we have Banafsaj, Melissa, Amanda, Adrio, Rafli, Bunga, Dara, Daro, Destira, Fahri, Felix, Firas, Lira, and Maria, Miranda, Mulia, and Siti. Okay. Okay. Mulia Sujiastuti.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you show us your draft, please?
Yes.
Okay. So this is more on the conservative sides of the slide presentation of a slide design. Okay. Could you move on to the next slide, please? Okay, background and research. This is basically a division or a title division, subdivision title. Background. Okay. Okay. That's okay. For that one, I think you need to reduce it the amount of words on that sentence.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Instead of just a small phrase or a keywords. Okay. Next.
Okay.
Yeah. This one also. Next. Okay, and this is the theory based on the Maxwell's equation, electromagnetics. Next. Yeah, this is just like a paper. Okay, the visual of this one is just like a paper. Could you make it a little bit different? Not like a paper like visuals.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think I will summarize it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Next one. Okay. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even this one. Next.
Yeah.
Method of okay. This is okay.
Okay.
It's good. Okay. Next. And then after that is the flow chart.
Yes.
Okay. The flow chart. Okay. The flow chart is good. Okay. So at the moment you have 15 minutes. So at the moment you have 15 slides.
Yes.
For 8 minutes. I think we could reduce that equations so that we could just show the most important equation of this study instead of showing the derivation, because probably not many people who not many people will understand the derivation itself. I'm not talking about the well, obviously, if you're able to deliver the topic in the clear way, so the derivation is not going to be the focus, right? So it's more on the method and also the result, etc. So because this is not your defense, because this is not your defense. So if you may read, so Maxwell equation is important. But we could move on from Maxwell equation to the most important equation for this study, for example. So we don't need to see the detailed derivation of Maxwell equation into the final propagation of the fields, right? Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So this is more conservative in terms of the design. Okay, so with that, I'm going to thank everybody who attended the class. We'll see in Monday. I will call up your names randomly, and then you present your selected topic in 8 minutes. And for those of you who are not presenting, you are required to fill in the assessment sheet that I'm going to provide you later on. Okay, thank you all. Let me stop the recording.